Yes, thank you so much, Sean. This song is one by Reverend Wendy Luella Perkins from Canada, and it's a call and response. So I'll sing a line, and if you would sing it back, then we'll have our call and response. You will remain muted. Nevertheless, we'll be singing together. And I'll do a looped version of it so you can feel where your part would lay. Oh, I give thanks for this glorious day. Oh, I give thanks for this glorious day. Oh, I give thanks for this glorious day. I am blessed, oh yes, I know that I'm blessed. Oh, I give thanks, oh, I give thanks for this glorious day, for this glorious day. Oh, I give thanks, oh, I give thanks for this glorious day, for this glorious day. Oh, I give thanks, oh, I give thanks for this glorious day, for this glorious day. I am blessed, oh yes, I know that I'm blessed. Oh, I give thanks for this wonderful day. Oh, I give thanks for this wonderful day. Oh, I give thanks for this wonderful day. I am blessed, oh yes, I know that I'm blessed. Let's sing it one more time. I give thanks for this marvelous day. Oh, I give thanks for this marvelous day. Oh, I give thanks for this marvelous day. I am blessed, oh yes, I know that I'm blessed. And so it is.
Thank you. Thank you, Leah. We give thanks for you as well as this marvelous day. Good morning, everyone. My name is John Bell, and I'll be your platform assistant this morning. We're very fortunate to have with us two people guiding our service technologically, Jan Smoot and Karen Gray. Thank you for being there as always. Today, we welcome back as our speaker, Jan Phillips, who will deliver the message, and the talented Lea Morris will provide our music. This centering prayer is from a book entitled Meditations from the Mat. When we look back at our best efforts, we realize that they occur in moments of non-attachment to results. We are doing the thing because we love the thing itself. We are in the moment without thought of the next moment. Unfortunately, we can remember these moments because they tend to be so extraordinary, so rare in our lives. For most of us, acting out of desire or aversion is the ordinary. Life is a struggle to gain something or to avoid something. In order for this not to be so, we have to take a few steps back and answer a couple of questions. First, what am I? And second, what am I not? You are divine consciousness on a divine mission to realize the truth about yourself. Do you believe this? Do you believe this to be true of all beings? Begin to ask yourself, what am I? And what am I not? When you feel desire or aversion coming up. See whether letting go begins to make more sense when you are not defined by the results of your actions. Imagine that your life is meant to be a dance in which you are held in the embrace of all living things. Amen.
The time is now, I can feel it. I feel it. I feel it. The time is now, I can feel it. I feel it stirring in my bones. The time is now, I can feel it. I feel it. I feel it. The time is now, I can feel it. I feel it stirring in my bones. The time is now, I can feel it, feel it. I feel it, feel it, I feel it. The time is now, I can feel it, feel it. Feel it stirring in my bones. The time is now, waiting. It's time for creating. The time is now, waiting. Feel the spirit stirring in my bones. The time today, not tomorrow. Today, not tomorrow. Today, not tomorrow. What are you waiting for? Today, not tomorrow. Today, not tomorrow. Today, not tomorrow. The future is in your bones. Today, not tomorrow. Today, not tomorrow. Today, what are you waiting for? Today, not tomorrow. Today, not tomorrow. Feel it stirring in my bones. The future is in our bones.
Right, this is remedial because we're the New Thought community. So I'm not going to tell you anything you don't already know, but it's like a gentle cattle prod to be mindful that we are not only creating our lives, but communities that we live in. I always think San Diego looks like it looks because I live here and I have my thumbprint all over it. And it takes a stretch of the imagination sometimes to be aware of how our presence matters. Because we've all been taught to think that creativity has to do with the arts. And so some people are fond of saying, I'm not creative, I can't draw a straight line, which has absolutely nothing to do with creativity. So I'm reflecting today on ourselves as co-creators. And what's evolutionary about it is that we've reached a point in the evolutionary spiral where it's not just happening to us, it's happening through us. And so the encouragement is for us to be conscious about the ways that we present in the world. And I said that our creativity is our spirituality and running shoes because it's actually the expression of our inner commitments. You know, I was in the convent when I was 18. I only lasted 2 years there, of course. As you remember from the last time we talked, I was kicked out. after 2 years because I was just a little bit too wild plus gay, and that's a very bad combination. So the best thing that happened to me there was when I was a postulant, we had a theology class, and the priest was committed to giving us the tools so that we could separate out faith from religion. And how he did it was to have us understand faith as our commitment to what we base our lives on, what is it we're ultimately committed to. And so the first reflection from that was, my God, what am I committed to? How did I know that at age 18? So I went back to Jesus because I kind of raised myself on creating a brotherly-like relationship with Jesus. And so I knew I was committed to being kind, committed to justice, committed to being a peacemaker. He made it pretty easy. If you just stay tuned into Jesus and what supposedly his words were, we'll never know what words Jesus actually spoke. But we can pretty much be sure he was up to peace, justice, and kindness. And so for us to understand for ourselves what are the primary commitments that we have in our lives and how will we live them out, that's what this priest defined as our spirituality. And probably most of us on this call had some rooting in another religious tradition. Mine, of course, Catholic, but we come from unity, people come from all over. And we've just transcended the rudimentary religions and come to the awareness that we are co-creators and that we have divinity as much in us as around us. So to be expressing our faith as in our actions is what we're asked to do, I think, by mind at large, by supreme intelligence. I've redefined the Holy Trinity as supreme intelligence, infinite love, and ineffable beauty. I redefine everything. I write my own Bible. I just can't get behind why do we keep referring to a source book that was written at a time when they still thought the world was flat, right? Where are the prophets, the mystics of this time? And revelation continues to unfold through us. We're like satellite dishes to mind at large. And so we receive the light, as the Kabbalah says, we receive the light, then we impart the light, thus we repair the world. And I'll tell you something that happened to me this week. I'm in a book club, and one of our sisters has just brought her 92-year-old Aunt Nina down from where she was living alone in LA to, she built a little ADU unit on her property. So there's a little house there for Aunt Nina. And then my friend, whose name is Dolores, gets Aunt Nina settled. And then she goes back to Buffalo, New York, to a place called Chautauqua for 2 weeks. It's like a institute for higher learning for adults. So she's 3,000 miles away, and Aunt Nina is having an episode, probably of anxiety, but she's all chilled and she can't get warm and disaster. So Dolores sends out a message. It comes across to me at 6 a.m. because, of course, she's in New York, 9 a.m. her time. And she sends it to about 6 or 7 of us. Aunt Nina needs help. I don't know if she needs a caregiver or not, but she's having these troubles. Who can help? And so you see everybody's texting in. Somebody texts in, oh, call Mark Schwartz, because he's the CEO of a company that provides caregivers. Another one is praying for Aunt Nina. Another one is, thoughts and prayers, this and that. And I'm sitting in my bed. And so I was awakened by this test. So I just light my candles and start my prayers. And I'm thinking, I can't do anything because I'm writing a very important spiritual book. So that was the thing that kept running through my mind. I'm very busy doing this creative project that will make a big difference in the world. And that kept me in bed, happily not going over to do what I could do to help Aunt Nina. And there were no other messages saying, I'll go there. And it finally occurred to me that I needed to be the one to get up out of bed, to drive over there, and to take care of Aunt Nina, to see what she needed. Because we don't have to ask, what would Jesus do? We have to ask, I have to say, what would Jan do? Because I am trying to live the same kind of life. That's my spirituality. That's my faith. And so then that made me get up out of bed, put my clothes on, and go over and spend 4 hours with Aunt Nina. And to heck with my writing a very important spiritual book. So to think of it like that, what are we all creating? We're all creating our lives. And some of us are creating music. Leah's creating music. Some others of us are making music. I bet some of you have written poems. You create your relationships with your grandchildren, your nieces and nephews. So we're actively creating all the time. And when we die and they say things about us, they're going to talk about whatever you created mindfully. And so that we come to our lives with that level of awareness that how we live out our commitments is the demonstration of our faith in the world. We don't just show up on Sunday morning. We show up on Sunday morning. After this, I'm going to go off to my Unity Church, right? I've already said my prayers. I've already spent time with you two, all of you in this spiritual circle. But now I'm going to go be with my community. And we do that because it feels so darn good to be with people of like mind, particularly when our world is in this kind of chaos and craziness. So what does it take for us to do that? First, I'm just going to give you an ABC. So hopefully you can remember. By tomorrow, you think back, what'd she say? And you go, oh, ABC. Tension is the first one, which just means how I had to attend to my thoughts in order to come to my decision to get dressed, get in my car, go see Aunt Nina, because she was alone, she was confused, she's 92, she needed help, and nobody else was helping. So I paid attention to my thoughts for about a half an hour that said, you don't have to do anything because you're writing a very important spiritual book. And that just kept me off the hook. And finally, it comes through that the most important thing for me at this time, Catholics call it corporal work of mercy. It's putting your body on the line in order to be of use to somebody who needs some help. So to pay attention to our thoughts in such a way that we're not bamboozled by the first drafts, which will keep us just doing what we want to do, because our first drafts are pretty self-serving. So attentiveness to our thoughts is a very important thing, to be able to know, right? You have already rewired your brains because you have moved into the category, the spiritual category called New Thought Community. So you have already figured out how to get rid of those dangerous thoughts like Jesus came to save from our sin, atonement, right? We're not into that anymore because we have a higher, more clear understanding of our roles here on earth as spiritual beings. So you've already done a lot of work in your consciousness. You're already probably paying attention to your thoughts and manipulating them as they come in. And when they feel wrong, you know it and you rethink it. So attentiveness to our thoughts is an important part, right? There's not one word in any of those prayers that insulted my soul, because unity communities create prayers that affirm our goodness. So to build out the rest of our life in a way that's consistent with that higher minded thinking. The other is to be for balance. That means you're creating a balanced life for yourself, because nobody else is in charge of your calendar. You are in charge of your calendar. So you never want to say, I don't have time for something that you really want to do. Because Deepak Chopra used to say, time is a man-made construct. If you need more, make more, right? So we're the ones that figure out how to spend our 24-hour days, because every one of us here wakes up to an empty canvas of 24 hours. And then we decide, am I going to spend 3 of it watching CSI reruns? Some of you will say yes. Am I going to spend 2 of it watching Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune? Some of you will say yes, right? So you're in charge of your time, and to mindfully create how you spend it. We're supposed to be spending it on those things that make us feel joyful. I felt real joyful after 4 hours with Aunt Nina. It was a deep, rich, fertile joy. They say, Rumi said this, the eyes are here for seeing, but the soul is here for its own joy. So we're supposed to choose what makes us joyful. And if it's consistent and congruent with those things we said were our ultimate concerns, then if we make choices consistent with our joy, it'll also be consistent with what we've claimed as our spiritual values. And the last one is C, commitment. And commitment, there's a great line by this guy who led a group of mountaineers up to Mount Everest. And I don't have the quote exactly here, but it goes like this. If you're not committed, things may work out for you, but the chances are high that they won't work out in exactly the way you want them. But once you commit to the thing, then providence moves too. And all manner of unforeseen resources, assistance, material and spiritual, come our way as a result of that commitment. So it's like the difference between, say, a New Year's resolution in a marriage vow. If any of you right now do not have a disciplined spiritual practice, there's something wrong with that. Because you don't have a commitment to it, maybe. But without a time in the day where we are actively in communion with supreme intelligence, that we don't have the proper balance in our lives if you don't make time for that love affair. And if you are committed to that, if you have a regular practice, then you know already you could be the one doing this talk next week because your life is informed by the higher consciousness itself. So, attention to your thoughts. And when you have a thought coming in that doesn't serve you, do not entertain it. Just turn your back on it. Be balanced. Be sure that you create a life of balance that has you doing the things that bring you joy enough. Most of us are old enough now so that we know that one. And we're past the time when we're giving ourselves away too much, that we're weary and tired, and when it comes time for our own selves to be cared for, we're just too tired. I bet most of, this is me talking to the choir, right? So I'm just here to say, oh yeah, remember we do this. As new thought peeps, we do this. We pay attention to our thoughts. We create a life of balance. And we live committed to what we say is our spiritual practice. And that shows up in the living of our lives, that how we go through our life is our spirituality in running shoes. Anyone who watched me for a week or 2 days, watch me what I do when I wake up in the morning, after I get dressed, where do I go, what do I do? People should be able, and they would be able to say, that's what she cares about. Those are her spiritual values. They can tell us, as by our fruits was how it was said in the Bible. They'll know you by your fruits. So I'm going to close with a poem that speaks to this. It's called Dust by Dorian Lowe, Laux. Someone spoke to me last night told me the truth. Just a few words, but I recognized it. I knew I should make myself get up, write it down, but it was late. And I was exhausted from working all day in the garden, moving rocks. Now I remember only the flavor, not like food, sweet or sharp, more like a fine powder, like dust. And I wasn't elated or frightened, but simply rapt, aware. That's how it is sometimes. God comes to your window, all bright light and black wings, and you're just too tired to open it. Amen.
There is always a light when we are ready to see it. There is always a light when we are ready to be it. To see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill. Together we will. This chant is based on the inaugural poem written by Amanda Gorman and shared almost 4 years ago. And I feel that it encapsulates what Reverend Jan shared. There is always a light when we are ready to see it. There is always a light when we are ready to be it. To see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill. Together we will. There is always a light when we are ready to see it. There is always a light when we are ready to be it. To see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill. Together we will. There is always a light. There is always light. When we are ready to see it. There is always a light. There is always light. When we are ready to be it. To see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill. Together we will. There is always a light. There is always light. We are ready to see it. There is always a light. There is always light. We are ready to be it. To see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill. Together we will. There is always a light. There is always a light. We are ready to see it. There is always a light. There is always a light. We are ready to see it. To see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, and be the climb this hill. Together we will be the light.
Now, if you'll join me in a closing prayer. This is a prayer by the Native American writer and artist Joy Harjo. It's called Once the World Was Perfect. Once the world was perfect, and we were happy in that world. Then we took it for granted. Discontent began a small rumble in the earthly mind. Then doubt pushed through with its spiked head. And once doubt ruptured the web, all manner of demon thoughts jumped through. We destroyed the world we had been given for inspiration, for life. Each stone of jealousy, each stone of fear, greed, envy, and hatred put out the light. No one was without a stone in his or her hand. There we were, right back where we had started. We were bumping into each other in the darkness. And now we had no place to live, since we didn't know how to live with each other. Then one of the stumbling ones took pity on another and shared a blanket. A spark of kindness made a light. The light made an opening in the darkness. Everyone worked together to make a ladder. A Wind Clan person climbed out first into the next world, and then the other clans, the children of those clans, and their children all the way through time, to now, into this morning, light to you. Amen.